paperboard, evening TV. Everywhere you look, there's a heart.
Welcome back, YouTubers. I am Jason Worsman. This is the best damn fantasy football channel on YouTube. This is Tankers Fantasy Football, and today me and the buyer are going to break down some waiver wire ads to help you get by for some of these injuries and some of these bye weeks moving forward. Lead it off, we're going to look at Latavius Murray, and he's probably owned in a lot of leagues, but Dalvin Cook looked like he was coming back. Latavius Murray really hadn't been doing dick all with his opportunity, so he probably was dropped. Went out there, got you the 100 yards, got in the end zone versus the worst. I mean, it was the worst rush defense in the league in the Cardinals. But he did do well out there, so he's definitely worth an ad if this Dalvin Cook injury is looking to linger on and on into the future. He's got to be at least an RB3 flex play moving forward. Payton Barber, another guy. Everybody thought Ronald Jones was going to be, you know, the bell cow coming out of the bye. He seemed to get a lot of work in that second half versus the Bears in week 4, had the bye week in week 5. But they came out and Payton Barber had 13 carries, 2 Ronald Jones's 1. Payton had the 4 catches, Ronald had the 3 catches, but Payton had 13 carries for 82 yards, 4 catches for 24 yards, got a receiving touchdown. And I don't know, I mean, I know it was the Falcons. Just another shit defense giving up a lot of points to opposing running backs out there, but I mean, you got to think that, I mean, Payton Barber appears to be the guy solidified in this role. Everybody thought Ronald Jones was going to come out. Ronald Jones was a sexy DFS start last week. I wasn't really buying into that shit, but Payton Barber, I mean, I'm not saying he's any more than an RB3 moving forward, but the RB2 landscape thus far just been complete fucking shitty, just like the fucking tight end situation this year. So, I mean, if he's on your waiver wire, he is definitely worth a look. Frank Gore, the first 35-year-old the oldest running back to go for the 100 yards in a game. Fucking Bears went out there, allowed Frank Gore to get 100 yards against him. I mean, he's going in this next week. He's got Detroit coming down to Miami, and they're giving up the second most yards to running backs, giving up the second most scrimmage yards to running backs, with 195 scrimmage yards given up to running backs a game via that Detroit line defense. So if Frank Gore is on the waiver wire, he's looking to be the guy who's getting the majority of the carries. Kenyon Drake's getting a little bit of work out of the backfield as well. But, I mean, moving forward, I think Gore in this Week 7 matchup against the Lions, if he's on your waiver wire, you need a guy, you need a flex play in Week 7. I think this is a decent play out there. Another kind of, this is kind of just a stash play. I've been kind of talking about this guy for the last few weeks in Malcolm Brown. If you are the Todd Gurley owner, or if you just have like an open bench spot to burn, this is the type of guy to roster. Because if Todd Gurley does go down, I think Malcolm Brown steps in and gets the lion's share of this sexy deluxe Rams offense backfield work. And if that's the case, he could be instant RB2, high-end RB2 action for you. So it's just kind of like a stash play, kind of stashing. I'm not saying hope, because you won't ever hope that a player gets injured out there, but you know, kind of a see into the future kind of look. Going to get into some wide receivers that you can add on the waiver wire. Chris Godwin, look at his targets through his first 5 games. We're talking about 4, we're talking about 6, talking about 10, 2, and 9. So we're talking about 3 of the 5 games with 6 or better targets for the Chris Godwin. And another thing that makes it even more sexy, look at his PPR production. In 4 of his 5 games, he's got 13.1 PPR points or better, does Chris Godwin. So if he is on the waiver wire, I think he is definitely worth a wide receiver 3 flex play moving forward. We got some David Moore. I know he's only got 3 and 4 targets these last couple weeks, but Russell Wilson appears to like the guy in the red zone. He's got like, what, 3 touchdowns these last 2 weeks. So, I mean, kind of, you know, another kind of stash play. You know, Brandon Marshall, he's just buried on the depth chart now. So David Moore is clearly this 3rd wide receiver. And since the Seahawks don't have anybody left at tight end, you know, Will Dissly, he's out. Nick Vannett missed this last game, so they're probably looking to rock a lot of 3 wide receiver looks with Baldwin, Lockett, and the David Moore. So David Moore can continue to see like maybe 4 or 5 looks a game, you know, maybe slip his ass into the end zone, be like kind of a wide receiver 4 or something moving forward. But in deeper leagues, he is definitely worth an ad for you. All right, we got some Damien Ratliffe. We got the Rat Fink out there. He went 6. He caught 6 of 8 targets for the Browns for those 82 yards. And I mean, you look at this Browns wide receiver depth chart, and they are just on the ropes. They got like Landry, they got Callaway, they got the likes of the newly required Bumski Deluxe Bashard Perryman. And I mean, those guys, I mean, Callaway, Bashard Perryman, they are not inspiring whatsoever. So we're talking about maybe the Rat Fink, some Damien Ratliffe, get in there, maybe get a little bit more looks. I mean, this kid is out there grinding. I'm kind of a believer. So in deeper leagues, all in on the Damien Ratliffe ad. I think, you know, there's just a path to, there's a path to targets for him. Like I said, the depth behind Landry and Njoku for targets is slim out there. We got some Tyrique Williams, and he caught 3 or 4 targets, got the 118 yards, got the 2 touchdowns, but he's never been over 5 targets in a game. And in 4 of the 6 games this year, he's got 4 or fewer targets. I think this is kind of a boom or bust play moving forward, like he's always been throughout his career. He always has like 1 or 2 of these games a season. I think if you start him next week, it's in full-on point chasing mode. I don't think that is the play. I think he's worth a waiver wire ad for sure, but I don't think you want to be starting him out there next week looking to chase points. I don't think that's something you want to be doing. Trey Smith went out there, blew it up last Monday night, but he was on the bye for the Saints, so he might still be lingering out there on your waivers. You look at Trey Smith, I mean, you know, he's playing Philly weeks 11, you know, so if you got kind of you get him out there, you get kind of a wait and see stash play, see how it works out. But if it does work out later on in the season, he's got some pretty good matchup playing against Philly week 11, give him the 3rd most points. Atlanta in week 12, who we know are just getting shredded out there. Jameis Winston just put up 40+ fantasy points on the Falcons in Atlanta. So if that is a sexy matchup for anything passing game, we got Tampa Bay week 14. We're giving the 2nd most points, 2 wide receivers. And then we got Pittsburgh in the championship week 16. We're going to have the 2nd most yards wide receivers. So if this guy hits the stride, if Ted Ginn stays on the shelf and Trey Smith, you know, takes over that deep deep route guy, that deep threat guy for Drew Brees, I think this is a guy who could have some serious boom weeks out there. And with this schedule moving forward into the fantasy playoffs, I think this is a guy you definitely want to wait, see, and stash on your rosters. We got some Albert Wilson, just went out there and just ripped the heart of the Bears out. I mean, my fucking Lord, Bears, what are we doing? We're fumbling on the one. We're throwing interceptions in the red zone, winning, and 1st down in the red zone. We're throwing interceptions up in the game. That's completely gross. We get the field goal on that drive. We just settled for the fucking easy field goal on that drive, and we probably don't even see overtime. Bears win, baby. That game was the most sickening thing I've ever seen. But back to Albert Wilson. He caught 6 of 9 targets, 155 yards, got the 2 touchdowns. He's only 26% owned in a lot of these leagues. When you think about, you know, maybe this is chasing points, but I'm looking in as deeper. I think there might be a little bit more opportunity for this guy to keep up this wide receiver 3 production. I mean, he's got 5 or more targets in 4 of 6 games, and he's got 6 or more targets in the last 3 games. So you're looking at it, and he's kind of trending up. If he's their bubble screen guy, you know, he's a pretty wiry guy out there, as you've seen, just got loose. There's like 5 Bears that every opportunity in the world to stop him on that 75-yard touchdown. They did nothing. So, I mean, I think this guy is definitely worth an ad. His target share is not that great, but if anybody, I mean, nobody's getting target. You know, this is the most targets you can expect from a team like the Dolphins. So, all in on the Albert Wilson ad. Got some, if for some reason Christian Kirk is still available. He is clearly the #1 wide receiver in Arizona. Got like the 6 for 77. Not a great game, but a solid game out there after his big touchdown week in week 5. So all in, if he is still out there in your leagues, you got to get up on some Christian Kirk. Taylor Gabriel, I mean, trending up here, Taylor Gabriel. I know you think he's more of a gadget player. He can't really sustain this, but you're looking at his targets in his first 5 games. He's got 5, 7, 10, 7, back to 5. And I mean, he's got the last 2 weeks, he has been over 100 yards out there. Trubisky is not afraid to clang it and bang it downfield to some Taylor Gabriel. Give him some of those short wide receiver screens as well. So, I mean, second flex play moving forward. I mean, I think this guy is definitely worth a look. Those targets are not that bad. He's got at least 5 targets in every game. He's got 3 of the 5 games with 7 or more targets. So all in, I do believe. I mean, people just aren't a believer in Taylor Gabriel, so he is probably still out there on your waiver wires. Get into some tight ends. We got some Uzama, I think that's how you pronounce it. Cincinnati tight end, just kind of war of attrition out there. Tyler Croft is injured. Tyler Eifert is out for the season with his gruesome injury. So I mean, last man standing, Uzama. If he is still on your waiver wires, I would get down on that. Vance McDonald, you know, he came in, got sexy for owners. He was a hot waiver wire ad a couple weeks ago. Went out there in week 5, shit the bed. People probably got disgruntled. I know he was dropped in a couple of my leagues after that bed shitting of week 5, but he went out there and got you 8 targets, caught 7 of those 8 targets for 68 yards, and that is the most you are hoping for from a tight end that is not named Kelsey, Gronk, or Ertz this season. So if he is back on the waiver wire, I would definitely give him a look. A couple of quarterbacks. Mitchell Trubisky had the week 4, the 6 touchdowns versus the shitty Bucks D. You know, kind of an illusion. Maybe people thought it was an illusion of grandeur, but he went out there in week 6 clanging and banging for 3 touchdowns, over 300 yards, majority of which happened in the second half, where the Bears scored all of their points in that second half. So clanging and banging. Mitchell Trubisky, I think, you know, this offense has weapons around him. I think he is in 2 quarterback leagues, he is definitely an every week starter. But I mean, if you're hurting for certain at the quarterback position, I think he is worth a look. I started him this last week. He got me like 31 fantasy points. I mean, that is as sexy as you can hope for with the Drew Brees on bye out there. You get yourself some biscuit. Jameis Winston, not really a believer in his private life, but out there was a very solid quarterback against the Falcons this week. Clanged and bang. His weapons are also great. I mean, he's going to turn the ball over. That's just kind of what he does. But with his weapons and this offense and how shit-faced, hammered their defense is, just vomiting up points, he should be throwing it at least 40 times a game moving forward, you would believe. So that would be another quarterback to add. Get yourself some Bisky. Get yourself some Jameis Winston. All right. Like the cut of my jib, give me a subscribe. Give me a share. Have any questions, put them in the comment section below, and I will get back to you. Or the bear, you know, sometimes he sneaks in there and answers a few questions on me. But if we're on iTunes, you'll get us on the iTunes. Listen to us from your commute to and from work, baby. We are just signing off. I will see you guys later. Cheeseburger.